Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Carving It Up Live right here on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. As always, I'm Bryson Carver. Got a great show for y'all tonight. The first Thursday night football game of the season. Yes, last week's game was on a Thursday, Cowboys-Buccaneers, but that doesn't technically count when you look at the schedules as Thursday night football, like on the NFL Network. Gonna predict that game, by the way, later on the show. My bad. Later on the show, going to predict Washington and the New York Giants, a very, very interesting division matchup early on. Good job of the NFL schedule makers. Going to talk a little Aaron Rodgers with my man, John Rivera from Pham Podcast. I was thinking the other day, I'm like, I've known this guy for months now, and I've not had him on the show. What the heck am I doing? He's coming on about 15 minutes to talk about Aaron Rodgers, his New York Jets, and other things like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they're pretty good. In case none of us have noticed yet. Also, Demarcus Lawrence out for 6 to 8 weeks with a foot injury for my Dallas Cowboys. I'm here to tell you, it's not that big of a deal, and I've got some numbers to prove it coming up later on in the show. So let's start with Monday Night Football. It was a few days ago, but again, this show is Monday, Thursday, Friday. For those of you that don't know that, I actually did that when I started going live. When Carving It Up became Carving It Up Live. I did it for the football season. Why? To react to Sunday's games on Monday, to react to Monday's game on Thursday, and to react to Thursday's game on Friday, and then at the end of the show on Friday tomorrow, predict all of Sunday's games, and we do it all over again. That's what's so great about the NFL season. It gives you a lot of flexibility. So Monday night, Baltimore Ravens, Las Vegas Raiders. First of all, unbelievable game. Unbelievable game. Goes to overtime. The Raiders almost had the ultimate kibosh, the ultimate blow-it loss. I mean, I was just sitting there thinking, because what I did, by the way, is I watched the Peyton and Eli broadcast for the second half and overtime. Peyton and Eli are naturals, guys. I told my dad the other day, I'm going to say it on the show, I'm going to have it on the record. Charles Barkley, guarantee that Peyton and Eli will have better ratings on ESPN2 than the ESPN broadcast. I'm dead serious. They're that good. They have great guests on, and they're fun to watch. But anyways, I'm watching the game. And it goes to overtime, obviously. And I'll get to how it got to overtime in just a second for my main argument here. But it goes to OT. Raiders go all the way down the field. Derek Carr with the touchdown pass. At least it looked like it. Turned out the ball was inches shy of the goal line. But during the review, both Ravens and Raiders players were shaking hands, thinking the game is over, until the officials correctly rule the ball was just short of the end zone. Raiders got to come back on offense. Raiders come out on offense, Ravens on defense. And so the Raiders sneak it and come up just short. It's like, okay, they'll feed it to Josh Jacobs. Well, they probably were until they got a holding penalty. Now I'm thinking, oh my goodness, the Raiders are going to do it. They're going to find a way to screw this up. And that belief was further pushed when Derek Carr, who I love, who played very well, threw a terrible interception. Threw it into tight coverage. It gets tipped in the air, falls right into the lap of a Ravens defensive back. I'm thinking, this game is over. Raiders mess it up. And then Lamar Jackson gets strip sacked by Carl Nassib. Shouts to him. And Derek Carr, a few plays later, throws the game-winning touchdown out of a timeout. So that was the most Raiders win ever. As John Gruden said after the game, he said he felt like a cat. He had multiple lives. And it felt that way for the Raiders. But the main point I wanted to get at right now is that people after this game, per usual, are crushing Lamar Jackson. Just saying that style of football can't win. The way he plays cannot win in the NFL. I swear, I don't know if some of these people watch the games. I really don't. Because what we're seeing with Lamar Jackson, there's two NBA players, going to go cross-league here for just a second. There's two NBA players who dealt with this same type of issue. Steph Curry and Giannis Antetokounmpo. By the way, the defending Finals MVP, who played unbelievable. But for years, with Steph, it was, he has to stay healthy, And come on, a little kid out of Davis, he's not going to succeed in the NBA. And then once Steph starts to have some successes, I have a comment real quick here from Z Liz. I'm sorry if I'm not saying that correctly. What about the game tonight, LOL? Stick around, man. Stick around. I will predict it at the end of the show. Just stick around. End of the show. You're going to want to stick around, by the way, for my man John to come on and talk about the NFL. So stick around for that. That's going to be fun to predict Washington and the Giants at the end of Carving It Up live today. But Steph Curry dealt with, come on, that's not going to win the NBA. The little ball handling, shooting. And you hear all these older players saying, Charles Barkley, I'd have roughed him up. I'd have beat him up underneath and taken the heart out of him. Until Steph wins a championship and an MVP. The next year wins a unanimous MVP, which has never been done before. And then goes on to win 2 more championships. And then last year with no Clay, no KD, no really anything, has the best season of his career. And so now it's like, okay, Steph's really good. He can win. And then for Giannis, it's just running and dunking. What did James Harden, one of Giannis' contemporaries, what did James Harden say? He said, hey, if I was 6'11", I could just run and dunk the whole time. Like it's easy. And what does Giannis do? While he drove me crazy at times in the second round of the Brooklyn series, in which the Bucks almost lost to the Nets, from that point on, after he got hurt in the Eastern Conference Finals, starting with Game 1 of the Finals, lights out, they couldn't stop him. Why? Because he went back to what made him great. He stopped taking so many jumpers, and he kept going inside. They could not stop him. Whether it was a cut to the basket, whether it was a nicely drawn-up play by Mike Budenholzer, whatever it was, they could not stop Giannis. Why? He wasn't taking as many jump shots, and he was taking their big man, DeAndre Ayton, off the dribble in the finals. And right now, I think Giannis is the best player in the NBA. We can discuss that another day. And so now with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson, ladies and gentlemen, has won 80% of his games. He's not barely over 500. He's not even 60, which is pretty good. Even 70, which is really good. 80% of his games. Okay. He took over as a rookie in 2018 for Joe Flacco. And the rest of the team was 3-5 through the halfway point in the year before they turned to Lamar Jackson. They lost 1 game the rest of the regular season before falling to the Chargers in their playoff game. But you could see, okay, he's all right. The next year he comes back, he wins the unanimous MVP. But he's not great in the playoffs again, so it's like, oh, can Lamar really? I don't know. Well, then the year following, he did win the MVP, but got the Ravens to the playoffs with a team that had all kinds of COVID issues, including himself. Lamar Jackson himself got COVID. Okay. Other guys on the team got COVID. They dealt with a lot. I mean, listen, a lot of teams did, but the Ravens probably more than anybody, save for a couple teams like, say, the Tennessee Titans, they dealt with a ton of issues with the virus. Still got to the playoffs, went on the road to play the Tennessee Titans, the team that crushed them the year before in the playoffs. And they couldn't stop Lamar Jackson. Couldn't stop him. Ironically, it was a run of his that got a first down and clinched the game and took the Ravens to the divisional round where they lost to the Buffalo Bills. But what I'm here is, there's only one way Lamar can win. He's got to control the clock, got to have ball control, right? Okay. Well, Ravens lost time of possession. The Ravens lost time of possession and had the lead with 37 seconds left. The Raiders didn't have any timeouts. This is a Ravens defense that I really like. And Lamar Jackson got him in field goal range. Justin Tucker, my fantasy kicker, did the job. Left time. Left not much time. And the Raiders go right down the field. 2 quick passes, 2 good throws, by the way, from Derek Carr to get them into field goal range. Daniel Carlson ties the game with a 55-yarder. It goes to OT. And, of course, the Raiders go on to win. Now, you can look at my Twitter timeline. When Lamar Jackson got stripped by Carl Nassib on the Ravens' last offensive possession, I said, Lamar, you got to do what, ironically, the opposing coach, John Gruden, once said and has said many times back when he was with ESPN, right? He had that great show, Gruden's QB Camp, where you'd take in all these young quarterbacks. he would say, the most important thing about coming to the NFL is when protection breaks down, you're stuck in the pocket, grip that football with two hands. Got to grip the football with two hands, because if you have it kind of dangling in your one hand, you could get strip sacked. So that's kind of what Lamar's got to work on that. But people killing him after this game. He threw for 235 yards and a touchdown, had a passer rating of 98. That's pretty good. And led the Ravens in rushing. By the way, this is the same Ravens team that lost not one, not two, 3 running backs to season-ending injury. This is a running team. This team, their success is predicated on running the football, whether it's with their quarterback or their running backs. They lost their 3 running backs before the season even started. And Lamar led them in rushing and had them right in the brink of winning a road game. So I have a comment here from Grady Edwards, frequent commenter on the show. Shout out to him. Lamar Jackson is very, very good. Playstyle-wise, he is Cam Vick 2.0 with an extra spurt of athleticism. The clock will start ticking on him around 30 to 31, though. There's some throws he needs to make. And he said, learn to make. Yeah. And my man Ryan Flowers shouts to him, Clutch Sports Talk Podcast. He really is a good regular season QB. I need to see him in more playoff games. Fair. Although he has gotten to the playoffs all 3 of his years as a starter, and I think this year's going to be no different. I had the Ravens winning the division. I'm sticking by that. Simply because I trust Lamar Jackson more than Baker Mayfield. He's done more. He's proven that I can trust him more. Physically, leadership-wise. I mean, heck, Baker Mayfield in the fourth quarter of that Browns-Chiefs game is playing decent. Browns have a lead, and then it's a muff punt, right? The punter makes a mistake. And he's over there yelling at teammates on the sideline, yelling at the punter. I'm like, bro, the game's not over yet. It's not over. You could still win. But he lost his cool. This wasn't Tom Brady yelling at receivers to run the right routes. This was Baker losing his cool. It's as simple as that. Lamar Jackson, though, after the game, was kind of ticked off at himself, blamed himself, as any leader does. What was Aaron Rodgers doing? Next week. It's 1 game down, 16 to go. Kind of blasé, chill. Lamar's like, no, we got to win next week. So that's my thoughts on the game. It was a phenomenal football game. There's no question about it. I had a blast watching that game. If every Monday night game is like that, sign me up. Sign me up. But those who are out there who just ripped Lamar Jackson sound a lot like the same people who ripped Steph before they were like, okay, yeah, he's really good. And Giannis before is like, okay, yeah, like he's really, really good. Sounds like the same group of people. Now that criticism, I'll put Ryan's comment back up. That is totally fair. I need to see him play better in the playoffs. Totally agree with you. He's played 3 playoff games. He's played well in 1. But that was his most recent playoff win. He's going to get him to the playoffs this year. I think they're going to fall short simply because Kansas City's better. Buffalo's better. I just like those 2 teams better. It's as simple as that. It's not that I don't like Lamar. I think he's got the potential to be a great quarterback. I think he's top 10. I had him around like 7, 8. He's won an MVP, but you got to stop with this Lamar criticism. The dude has won 80% of his games. That's like Dan Marino stuff. Literally, go look at the numbers. That's Dan Marino stuff in his first 50 games. I mean, Joe Flacco, his last 3 years in Baltimore, it wasn't so great. Matter of fact, his last 4 years in Baltimore. Okay, because 2015, he tore his ACL, but the Ravens were going to miss the playoffs anyway. They were terrible. 2016, fell short to Pittsburgh. 2017, fell short, blew a game against Cincinnati they should have won. 2018, 3-5 out the gate. The fans seem to like Joe Flacco more than Lamar Jackson. I get he got that Super Bowl. That's about all he did in the NFL. He was very much middle of the pack, Kirk Cousins type quarterback. All he does is win. He's not like Tim Tebow. Tebow goes 7-4, but it was like, yeah, the defense and the kicker is winning that game, not Tim Tebow. Like Tim's completing like barely 50% of his passes. Like we gotta stop. This is not the same case. So shouts to Lamar. John Rivera from Pham Podcast will be joining in a few minutes. Going to start talking about Demarcus Lawrence for just a second. A lot of Cowboys fans, a lot of fellow Cowboys fans are freaking out about this. That Demarcus Lawrence broke his foot, unfortunately, in practice yesterday, and he is out for 6 to 8 weeks. Certainly not a preferable loss for Dallas, obviously. But I don't think it's backbreaking. You're not losing Myles Garrett or TJ Watt or a pass rusher Dallas is actually going to have to block in a few days, Joey Bosa. Demarcus Lawrence, since he got that big contract after the 2018 season when he made his second straight Pro Bowl, hasn't done much. I mean, guy making $20 million a year. 5 sacks in 2019, 6.5 last year. Okay. Now, some of that is because Dallas was trailing so many games that the other team was running the ball a lot. So he didn't get a ton of pressures on the quarterback. But doesn't he also deserve some blame for that, for not getting pressures on the quarterback early in the game? And so here's the thing. People freaking out about Dallas's injuries. And listen, Michael Gallup, I think, is a big loss. And I thought Neville Gallimore, who's a very good defensive tackle, underrated before the season started, I thought that was a big loss as well for the run defense. Neville Gallimore, Randy Gregory is out on the COVID-19 list. There's a slim chance maybe he comes back Sunday because he is vaccinated, but it's better chance than not he's going to play next Monday night against Philadelphia. Like you got to wait on that. Okay, so you also got, guys like Donovan Wilson, who's a hard-hitting safety, who's out for that game. So there's some losses for Dallas. But I think the main thing you got to focus on with the Cowboys is this going against the Chargers, and they are 3.5-point dogs, understandably so. First of all, they barely lost to the defending champs a week ago today. On the road, Tom Brady, Tampa Bay. Okay, you've got, Ezekiel Elliott, who I think is the key on Sunday. The key. And I'll get to Dak in just a second. But Zeke, one of the things that Kellen Moore said the other day, I think I talked about this maybe on Monday's show, is Kellen Moore, offensive coordinator for the Cowboys, like him a lot. He said that he called 28 run plays in. And Dak Prescott audibled out of 12 of those. Didn't like what he saw, from a Tampa defense. Get it. And some of that was Tampa Bay had the best run defense last year. And plus, this year, now they got Vita Vea back, and that dude is unblockable up the middle. I mean, that dude is a flipping beast. Like Zeke's not doing anything against him. There's not that many running backs that would make a ton of noise running up the middle with big number 50 there. And so this week, you do have to worry about Joey Bosa, which the loss of Lyle Collins worries me a little bit in that regard. But how Dallas can win this game, how I think the formula for them to win this particular game against the Chargers, because listen, this is a Chargers team and a Chargers offensive line, which I talked about during the offseason, definitely improved their offensive line. Washington's defensive line last week could not get any pressure. Chase Young, Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, these dudes couldn't get any pressure on Justin Herbert. That's Washington's defensive line, which is top 2 probably in the NFL. And so you're saying Dallas defensive line going to get a ton of pressure on Herbert? Of course not. And I think that's the same case with or without Demarcus Lawrence, which is why I don't think this is a huge loss. Keep in mind, Zach Martin's back. In my view, the second best guard in all football to Quentin Nelson. Because Zach Martin, one day, is going to wear a gold jacket. I have no doubts about that. He was all-decade last year when the NFL named their all-decade team in the guard. Him and Marshall Yonda were all-decade. Okay, so Zach Martin's coming back. That means you're going to have more running lanes up the middle for Zeke. This Chargers defensive line and run defense in general, not close to Tampa Bay. Outside of Joey Bosa, not close to Tampa Bay. And so this game's going to be all about ball control. And keep in mind, this is a Dak Prescott who 7 days ago, it'll be 10 days by the time this next game against the Chargers takes place. 7 days ago. Off an ankle injury, off a shoulder injury, off of not playing any football in 11 months. I told y'all he'd be fine. 400 yards, 72% completion percentage on 58 passes. That's all-time stuff right there. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception wasn't on him. CeeDee Lamb dropped it on a pass over the middle. So Dak's a guy, to use the term on this show, who can carve people up, carve that Chargers defense up, and Zeke Elliott is going to be key in this game on Sunday against the Chargers. One quick comment here before I go to my man John Rivera. Grady Edwards says, are we heading in a direction where Kellen Moore will become Dallas's head coach? Dallas can only win one way under McCarthy, which is a shootout. True. I've been critical of McCarthy since last year. I initially liked the hire. You can go back and listen to shows back in January of 2020. Liked the hire of McCarthy. But about 4 or 5 games in, I could tell the body language of the team was bad. They seemed to be disconnected. There seemed to be this, I don't want to say disbelief, but didn't really buy into to Mike McCarthy. Players are coming out and dissing him anonymously in the media, which I thought was really low on their part, but they did. I agree with you. I like Kellen Moore. Now, is Kellen Moore Jason Garrett in that he's a good coordinator, just not necessarily a dude that can command the presence of an entire football team? That's the only thing. Now, if Kellen Moore did become free to, get interviewed for head coaching jobs next year, unless the Cowboys were to, win the Super Bowl or something, I'd fire McCarthy and just go ahead and hire Kellen Moore. But that's just the way I'd do it, because McCarthy hasn't shown me a ton. All right, aside from my Dallas Cowboys, there's a lot going on in the NFL. And so what better person to bring on the show than my man from the Pham Perspective Podcast, John Rivera, who is wearing a Yankees hat. This is your first appearance on Carving It Up, and you're wearing a Yankees hat. How you doing?
Hey, man, I'm good. I'm blessed. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I think it's, I got to ask you a quick question before we get into the questions. Did you put that on because you saw I had this on?
No, this only had a fit my head right now with these braids and stuff like that. So
okay, I feel it.
I'll put it on. But a little bit was Boston.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
You got 3 AL East teams fighting for that wild card spot. Right. Boston, New York, and Toronto. So that should be interesting. Our man Alfred is definitely interested in that. So let's talk about yourself a little. Before we get into the questions, let's talk about yourself. Let's talk about your podcast, because this is your first appearance on Carving It Up. And so I like to learn a little bit about the person. We've known each other for a few months now, but tell me a little bit about yourself and specifically the Pham Perspective Podcast a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just I do the Pham Perspective Podcast with my nephew, Andre. We started about 2 years ago. Just almost about 2 years ago in November. So yeah, it went from us just loving to talk about sports, you know what I mean? And then just like, you know what, we should just film it. We're knowledgeable. We know the game. We know a lot of different sports. So we say, you know what, let's just start a podcast. From there it went from, being on YouTube, on camera, and then Spotify and everything else, you know what I mean? So that's pretty much it for the, me, I'm just a regular average Joe, man. I love sports in general, football the most, but, definitely a sports fan for sure.
I think that's how we all really got into this podcasting thing. Is at the core of it all, we're sports fans, and that's how it goes. You're a sports fan. I'm a sports fan. You're from New York. I'm from Tennessee. So that's kind of how that all goes down. Grady says, "Love the Yankees hat. Let's go." I did not know you were a Yankees fan too, Grady. Come on, man. Patriots fan and Yankees fan. Come on. All right, so let's get in the NFL a little bit. Let's talk about one of your other teams, the New York Jets. They fell 19-14 to the Carolina Panthers on Sunday. When he was drafted, I wasn't huge on Zach Wilson. I wasn't all the way ready to go bust. He hadn't played a game yet. But man, I've seen him in the preseason. I saw a couple of those throws he made against Carolina.
Right.
I know the Jets tend, and I've talked about this on the show before, I know the Jets tend to mess up a lot of quarterbacks' careers. Yeah. This kid's talent, the zip he has in the ball, I'm telling you, what are your expectations for Zach Wilson this year and going beyond?
Like I said, it's too early for anything week one. It's overreaction, everything. But I like his poise. I like his confidence, and I like what he did. He start off rusty, which any rookie would do his first game. And Carolina defense ain't nothing to slouch about either. So, but at the second half, he, held his own, and, he looked poised. Like you said, he made the right throws. Like I said, I liked his attitude. Like even when they lost, like he was like, okay, you can see the kid is ready to go back to work. Not like Darnold. Darnold was looking like looking lost, to be honest. You know what I mean? And
Seeing
but
ghosts.
yeah, right, exactly. And I was a Darnold fan though, but
Yeah.
like I said, I like what I see from Wilson. Like I said, he started off, slow, but he finished strong. So, but like I said, overall, my team, like I said, as long as we are competitive like we were on Sunday, I'm cool with that. Like I said, 6 wins. I know we're a rebuilding team. Joe Douglas, second year as the GM, new head coach, and half our roster is turnover. So, everything looks good. You know what I mean? There's only a way but to go up from 2-3 wins that we had last year. So, but I definitely like what I see. And my nephew came with a great like comparison. He said that kid got a chance to be what Johnny Manziel was supposed to be, and I thought that was a good comparison. Like,
Okay.
they look similar, they play a little similar. You know what I mean? But yeah. So like I say, I like what I see from Wilson so far, man. Like I told you guys, I like that Davis connection. I feel that that's going to be a good connection, and
Yes.
as you see, they connected twice on Sunday. So definitely excited. Like I said, as long as we're competitive, man, I'm good with that. I'm good.
And that's what's key in a rebuild. I mean, let's stay in the division. Like with the Miami Dolphins a couple of years ago, they start the season. They're getting blown out. I think it was like 56-0 or something crazy to the Baltimore Ravens opening day. And then by the end of the year, they actually beat New England at the end of the season on the road, and that actually forced New England to have to play in Wild Card Weekend and not get a first round bye. And so you could see those steady, gradual improvements. Okay, last year they doubled their wins to 10 and come on the doorstep of the playoffs. And
Right.
so I've always liked Robert Saleh. I think he was the right hire for the team.
I agree.
And I do like what the Jets did in free agency. Obviously, they've had Carl Lawson out.
Yeah.
They've had some injuries defensively. But again, you look at Robert Saleh, he's a defensive guy. So
Right.
if just like Brian Flores in Miami. So if you can, I think the key for the Jets, like you said, 6 wins. I don't think that's outlandish, especially how they played against Carolina. And I don't think Carolina's any slouch, like you said, any easy team to beat, especially on the road. So if by the end of the season we're starting to see a gradual improvement, I think that's all you could ask for, at least in 2021 for the Jets.
Exactly. Absolutely. We lost the big man Beckham, but I was happy it was only 4 to 6 weeks, man. I was like, for the year. I was like, we lost Lawson, not a big man, but 4 to 6 weeks, so that's a month. So, like I said, I'm happy. That was like,
yeah.
Like,
wipe your brow for that one.
Yeah, like I said, and week 1, you just getting, trying to feel it and lose a big man like that. But like I said, 4 to 6 weeks. So, and with NFL and all these doctors and everything else, he'll probably be, at that 4 weeks or 3 weeks. So yeah, definitely.
For sure. All right, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers for a little bit. They definitely have been a team that's been widely discussed, certainly in the offseason, and arguably even more after their week 1 debacle 4 days ago against the New Orleans Saints. I talked about Aaron Rodgers a little bit on Monday's show, and I said, basically, look, I backed Aaron in the offseason after, he pretty much came out and publicly, went after the Packers front office. He said, I like the head coach. I like the coaching staff. Love my teammates. Love the fans. It's the guys upstairs that I've got an issue with. And I sided with him. But part of that bargain is you got to back it up. You got to come on the field and ball out. I'm not saying you got to be the MVP again like you were last season, but you got to show up and show out and not – I feel like he had this kind of blasé, it is what it is, whatever. I'm not saying it's the Packers going to go into free fall. But this is what I said before the season. It's a 10-7 football team for a lot of these reasons. What are your thoughts on that and your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers in general?
Yeah, like you said, I think the average fan would, sided with Rodgers. Like, yeah, we were Rodgers. I'm a big Rodgers fan. I think he's in my top 2, him and Dan Marino, as far as quarterbacks ever to me. I know Brady's the GOAT, but my favorite quarterbacks are Dan Marino and Aaron Rodgers. But like you said, week 1, I know a lot of people don't like him, how he, like you said, he's nonchalant. Like, yeah, it's only one game, you know what I mean? And to be honest, it's one game. Like,
yeah, of
course. New Orleans had nothing. Like, nothing. Like, they had to back against the wall. They're not playing at home. Everyone's down on Michael Thomas is hurt. Drew Brees, is gone. So, it was playing with house money. So, But I didn't expect it. Just like you had on yours, I had on mine as well. I had Green Bay winning. Like New Orleans isn't home. Like Green Bay is a better team and stuff like that. But like I said, it's week one. But like I said, I like Rodgers. Just like you said, I see 9, 10 wins. Like I said, I think overall this season, with a lot of teams, it's not going to be a lot of 11 and 12 win teams. I think it's going to be a lot of 10 win, maybe 10 win teams, but not like 13, 12, because a lot of this NFL got more competitive. You know what I mean? So every given Sunday, it's definitely going to be a fight out there. But like I said, I still like Green Bay. I had them in my predictions, them and Buffalo getting to the Super Bowl. And this was one of the reasons, too, because they're going to have to get through more obstacles. You know what I mean? Last year, they had the top
seed in the NFC.
Top seed. And now this year, they're going to have to grind their way up. They're going to have to play road games to get to the Super Bowl. So that's why I predicted Green Bay and Buffalo in the Super Bowl. So I think Green Bay is going to be all right. They have all the talent. They basically brought back the same team just like Tampa Bay did. So I'm good with that. Like I said, they'll be all right. Rodgers will be all right, man. He's still a bad man. He's just coming off an MVP season. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he didn't. Like, that wasn't like 3 years ago, or like, say, like when they say what Cam, like, oh, that was 5, 6 years ago. Rodgers, that was just literally last year. So Green Bay will be all right, man. So,
well, it's not. My concern about Aaron is obviously not talent. I mean, again, he won the MVP, 48 touchdowns, 5 picks. He was unbelievable. I think he's going to have another good season this year.
Right.
I worry a little bit about commitment because, listen, he hosted Jeopardy last year. He, was chilling, vacationing in Hawaii last year when I talked about Russell Wilson was working out with Tim Grover, Michael Jordan's trainer, and Dak Prescott was working from rehab, and Tom Brady was punting footballs and throwing helmets because he was so frustrated with, receivers and stuff. Right. You get more of the buy-in with those guys that I'm not so sure you get as much with Aaron Rodgers. That kind of leads into a comment that Grady says. He says, Skip Bayless said Aaron Rodgers is looking like a folk singing hippie. His body language and his coolness is good, but you need to know when to turn up, and that's something that he definitely has always held him back, and his inability to do that. Yeah, I mean, it's not an issue of work ethic at all. Mm-hmm. It's more of is my quarterback all in? And that's something I do have some concerns about the Packers going forward and what I think could be their downfall ultimately. But again, like you said, like Aaron said, it's just one game, so we'll see. Right. Let's talk about the Chicago Bears a little bit, staying in the NFC North. I said all offseason and definitely during the preseason, this is Justin Fields' team. They had a joint practice with the Miami Dolphins, and Justin Fields was the only player from either team that got oohs and ahs from the crowd. And so you could see the ability that he has. You saw how he played in the preseason, and I feel like just playing him in some of these wildcat red zone situations is not good for him. It's not good for the Bears, their morale. Getting Andy Dalton in there, and he looks even worse than he did last year. Who do you think should start week 2 for the Bears against the Cincinnati Bengals? I think is who they have next, and just this quarterback controversy in general.
Like I said, I would just ride with what ultimately Fields gonna start in real soon, like maybe the second half of this upcoming Sunday. But I'll just roll with Dalton because LA, the Rams are number 1 defense. You know what I mean? True. Like that's the number 1 defense. So, like I said, going back to week 1. So, but like I said, I'll roll with Dalton. But I think he's gonna get a quick plug. I think it's like almost like the NBA analogy. Oh, you start the game, but the young fella gonna come in at the 3-minute mark type thing. So I think if Andy struggles a little bit, I can see Fields going in there real fast and ain't no turning back after that. You know what I mean? Because they just committed too early to Dalton. They didn't think Justin Fields was going to fall or they could have a chance to get Justin Fields. You know what I mean? So they went, Andy, you're the starter. So they played their card too early on that one. So they got to kind of roll with that. But definitely I see Fields going in real quick. Like I said, second half or even like the second drive, like, the second time they get the ball. So he'll definitely be in there real fast. Like I say, need a spark. That they're playing for their jobs, Nagy and all them, they're playing with their jobs. So if they want a better chance to keep their job, got to put Fields in there and ride it out.
That's exactly what I said on my show during the offseason. It's like, look, for Matt Nagy, the head coach, for Ryan Pace, the general manager, this is put up or shut up time. Like you gotta make something happen, show that the organization's going the right direction. I've always liked Matt Nagy. I mean, he got to the playoffs twice with Mitch Trubisky, and I think that in itself is an accomplishment. And so what I look at with Fields and people saying, oh, what about San Francisco? listen, I love Trey Lance. I think he's going to be a special quarterback.
Absolutely.
But with the 49ers, it's a situation where, look, Jimmy Garoppolo, last time he was healthy, they were minutes away from beating Kansas City in the Super Bowl. Also, the fact that the issue with Trey Lance is not accuracy, it's not leadership, it's none of that. It's reps. He's played like one game in 600 days.
Exactly.
If that's not the issue with Fields, I mean, just, 9 months ago, we saw him throw like 6 touchdowns against Clemson.
Right.
So he clearly has that ability. He's got the accuracy. He can move around. I think he hit like 22 miles an hour on one of his runs in the preseason. So he can move. So I think he gives a different dimension to the team that Andy Dalton doesn't give. And I think when you do have Andy Dalton in there, who I've always said is low end starter, high end backup. That's the group that Andy Dalton's in.
Right.
When he's in there, is there, talked about Aaron Rodgers, is there the buy-in with the team? It's not that they don't like Andy, but when they see this kid in practice every day, like, man, if we could just get this dude out there.
Exactly.
I feel like that factors in a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, absolutely. And that's what I said. I think that's what goes with the players too. Just like when, Heineke going off, to another team, like when Heineke got in there, that Washington football team, everyone leveled up, you know what I mean? After Fitzpatrick went down, because, that it was their guy last year. Like he took them in the playoffs. They played tough against Tampa. So I think that's the same thing with Fields. It's like, this guy gave us the best chance to win. Like, especially NFL show that their life is only playing is 4 or 5 years. So they're like, I want to win. Like, who wants to be on a losing team? So if this guy give us the best chance to win, put him in, coach. You know what I mean? But respectfully, like I said, they wanted to go with Andy. So, but I think he get the short leash, and Fields will be in there real soon.
I agree with you, though. A point you made a little earlier, it could be as soon as Sunday. I don't think he'll start. Andy's going to be the starter on Sunday, but it is a very short leash, and it's coming. It's coming soon. The next 10 days. I mean, that's what we're thinking.
Right.
So before I get into the next question, Grady says, is there any shot Jimmy G just keeps Lance on the bench all season long and maybe even reclaims his status as the franchise guy? Guy is no scrub. He's pretty good when healthy. I mean, we could see it. We've heard a lot of comparisons, like with what the Chiefs did at Patrick Mahomes' rookie year.
Exactly.
I don't know. It depends on how many teams are reaching out to the 49ers to go get Jimmy Garoppolo if he stays healthy, which is a big if, and has a good season. There's a lot of teams that would absolutely, want to take him. That you can never not upgrade at quarterback. And certainly we've learned that lesson, like with the Los Angeles Rams. So, I don't think so. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think history repeats itself. Alex Smith with San Fran took him there, and then they traded him to Kansas City, and then same thing happened with him and Patrick Mahomes. So I can definitely see Jimmy doing the same thing. Like I said, he makes big money, and they got to start paying some of the other players as well on San Francisco. So I could definitely see that. It's going to be teams on the market already. Like I could see a Giants or somebody like that trading for Jimmy. And like you said, let Lance get his reps in. I think San Francisco is going to be a solid team. They're going to be a playoff team. So just let them sit, let the young man sit. And like I said, I think next year he will definitely be their starter. I think it's a 70-30 for me that Lance will be their starter next year, and Jimmy will be somewhere else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying, and that's the thing. Like, that's the difference between San Francisco and Chicago. San Francisco still has, Super Bowl aspirations because they had just all kinds of injuries last year. Last time the squad was together, they just blew through the NFC. And so not the case with Chicago. I wouldn't be shocked if they got to the playoffs if they go to Fields early. It is a tough NFC, so, you never know what could happen. But I think it's two completely different scenarios, not just with the teams, but with the individual quarterbacks. But that's a really interesting destination you threw out, Jimmy G to the Giants, because I think Daniel Jones pretty soon it's almost over. He once again he's got a bad case of the fumbles. He needs to get that vaccine against the fumbles because we're probably gonna see it again tonight.
Right. We definitely.
So let's talk a little bit about Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay Bucks 1-0. They beat my Dallas Cowboys. This is obviously a team that returned all 22 starters. I know you obviously had Green Bay getting the Super Bowl out of the NFC and facing the Buffalo Bills, who I had coming out of the AFC. How much do you like Tampa Bay? Do you think they mean, obviously it's hard to be better than winning the Super Bowl, but do you think just as a team, they are better right now than they were last year?
Yeah, I said they better because, like I said, they just winning mentally. Like they feel like they're unstoppable. You know, they learned a lot. Like all the young players, all the people that haven't won in Tampa Bay, you know, Mike Evans and other worlds that, you know, wasn't used to winning. They were used to putting up
Right.
numbers, but not winning. So they won it all. And like I said, they buying in. So I think they're a better team on that aspect. And also, they get Antonio Brown for a whole year. Like, you know what I mean? He's
And he
Brown
looked
still
good.
got it, man. Yeah, he still got it, man. Like he's definitely still got it, and I just add more, you know, weapons to Brady. So I think the same. I think the same thing. Like I said, they make the playoffs. Like I said, I got Green Bay. Like I said, the whole NFL got, you know, better. So like I said, I like the Rams look good. Like I said, Seattle. So it's definitely, you know, playoffs. But we'll see. You know, playoffs. Like I said, a team can get hot, like Tampa Bay did last year, and it could be
Yeah.
a play away from getting, you know, advancing. So I definitely see like the same thing. I like the Tampa last year. Like I told a lot of people last year that I like Tampa Bay. Like overall, they got, you know, good talent, and you had, you know, the GOAT there. Like that's all they was missing. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't about numbers. Like James Winston throwing for 5,000 yards. You know what I mean? If you got somebody to throw for 4,000 and half the interceptions, you got a, you know, you got a
It's a
playoff
different
team.
record.
So absolutely. So yeah, like I said, I see the same kind of outcome. Like I said, I still got Green Bay. Like I said, I like the Rams. I like the Rams a lot, man. Like
I do too.
I think that pickup it was great. But I like the Rams. Like I said, it's gonna be interesting. But I expect the same thing just about from the Bucks though. Like I said, playoffs, win their division, and, you know, go from there.
You know, to go to a point you made earlier, and you kind of alluded to a little bit there, the gap between even the great teams and even the really good teams, it's not that wide. I mean, it's AFC, NFC, it is wide open.
All right.
I mean, AFC, I think there are two like genuine, we actually think we can win the Super Bowl this year teams, Kansas City, Buffalo. NFC, you got, you know, like you mentioned, the Rams. I love the Rams this year. I think they're going to be the 2-2 Tampa Bay in the NFC. You're talking about the Packers who got into back-to-back championship games. Obviously, the Bucks have won the whole darn thing. And you got other teams, you know, Seattle and San Francisco. So it'll be really interesting. Now, final question.
Yes, sir.
It's not really a sports question, but I've seen. I'm sure you've seen the podcast or listened to the podcast. Shouts to Matt Barnes, Steven Jackson, All the Smoke. One of the questions that they ask to their guests at the end of their shows, and I'm going to kind of use as my own a little bit, is who are the 5 dinner guests, dead or alive, that you would invite over to your house?
All right, so I'm gonna get, you know, I'm married, but I'm gonna get the female out of the way. So I'm gonna go with Halle Berry, right?
Wow. Okay.
Halle Berry. I got Tupac,
Ooh,
Nas, Michael Jordan,
he was at my table as well.
and I gotta throw a funny guy in there, so I can say like Kevin Hart.
That's a good table.
I can say Kevin Hart right there, bro.
There you go. All right. There is John's table right there. Appreciate you coming on the show. Hope to have you on, you know, a couple more times during the NFL season and then on IG Live. And you're a guy who, you know, a lot of times you and Grady and a lot of other people are in the comments, you know, supporting Carving Up. And I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate that. And
Absolutely.
so, listen, have a good one and hopefully get you on the show in the future.
Absolutely. Appreciate for you bring me on here, man. Like I said, I always support you. Have a good day. Like I said, continue to be great, as we say.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Same as you. Real quick, give us a little bit of information about Pham Podcast, where our listeners and viewers can find it.
Okay, yeah, we're on YouTube, so you can watch the videos. We're on Spotify, we're on Anchor, Breaker, Google Podcasts, and a couple other platforms you can listen to.
All right. Appreciate it, man.
All right, thank you, man.
That was John Rivera of the Pham Perspective Podcast. Great dude, great show. So, but he brings up some good points. Because when you think about the 49ers and what they're trying to do this year, listen, Jimmy Garoppolo, you know, kind of the same case with Lamar Jackson. All he does is win. It's a DJ Khaled song. All he does is win, win, win. No matter what, that's all he does. And so when he's healthy, it's a different team. I mean, even Kyle Shanahan, who I love, I think Kyle Shanahan is one of the 10 best coaches in the league and one of the 3 or 4 best offensive coaches. Have you seen his record without Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco? it's bad. I mean, I get it. He had C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins, and I mean, he had some guys in there, like no legit dudes as a starting quarterback without Jimmy Garoppolo. But it's tough sledding when Jimmy G's not in the lineup. Even though I love Trey Lance, I think he is going to be special. I've said on the show that while I think Trevor Lawrence is better, clearly, I think Trey Lance is going to have the best career of the 5 first-round quarterbacks because he's in the best situation. It's Kyle Shanahan, San Francisco. With all that talent around him, he's going to have a great career, and I think he's going to possibly win some Super Bowls when it's all said and done. But it's a different situation than Chicago. And that's kind of what John was alluding to. So we shall see. Week 2 is going to be fun. I'm going to predict Sunday's Week 2 games on tomorrow's show. At the end of the show on Friday, love doing it. Going to have my upset of the week, which I got right last week. I said Arizona was going to upset Tennessee. They did that and then some. They smacked Tennessee on the road in Nashville. And then my Were I a Betting Man, which is my news segment, which I was very off on. I said the Packers were a lock. I think they were like -4 at the Saints. I said that's an easy one, and couldn't have been more wrong on that one. So we shall see. Grady says, hot take, don't leave Kyle Trask. I think he means Trask. Kyle Trask out of those QBs. He will be very good. I'm not big on Kyle Trask, not just because he's a Florida guy. Just objectively speaking, I'm not as big on Kyle Trask because to me, y'all know I'm not big on Mac Jones. I think he's a poor man's Mac Jones. He's not mobile in the pocket. I mean, Oklahoma's defense, which wasn't very good last year in that bowl game, I get Kyle Pitts was out, but they just abused him. And plus, every quarterback looks good with Dan Mullen. Dan Mullen is the college football Bruce Arians, really. He's the quarterback whisperer. Every quarterback he works with, they all play well. So I don't know. I mean, heck, I don't even know when Kyle Trask. I mean, obviously, should he get traded, we'll see. But I don't even know if Kyle Trask is going to get on the field. I mean, he's backing up. Actually, he's the third string with Tom Brady, and he's not exactly speaking of retirement anytime soon, even at the age of 44. So I'm not huge on Kyle Trask. I actually like the dude, Davis Mills, I think is his name, out of Stanford, who's the backup in Houston. I actually like him a little bit better than I do Kyle Trask. I don't necessarily see franchise quarterback, but like you said, it is a hot take, so you never know. You know, there's another quarterback making $40 million a year that Dan Mullen coached, and he's pretty good, so we'll see. All right, last segment of the show, going to predict Thursday night football. The start of week 2 in the NFL. It is so good. I know I've said it a trillion times, and I'm going to say it again. It is so good to have football back. It is so good to have football back. Okay, week 2. Let's go and put up my week 1 record in my pick'ems. Average 9-7. Could have done a whole lot better. There were games that I was way off on. There were games I called from the beginning. Like, for example, like I said, the Cardinals and the Titans and Denver Giants. I had, Denver going on the road and beat. Actually, did I have Denver? Actually, I think Denver was wrong. That was one of the 7 losses. So there you go. But a lot of upsets in week 1. There tends to be a lot of upsets in week 1. It's the hardest week in the NFL to predict because the fact half these teams are new coaches and new quarterbacks and new systems. Week 2 should be a little bit more easy, a little bit easier to predict. So we got a division matchup tonight. You've got the New York Giants, you got the Washington football team in the NFC East, which I do not believe will be the proverbial NFC least this year. I actually think the NFC North is the worst division in football. There's outside the Packers, there's not any of those teams that I like, even Chicago, and I like Justin Fields, but not this year. But the NFC East is a division that's not going to be as cruddy as it has been in years past. And you got a really good matchup here. You got a Giants team coming off a loss to the Denver Broncos last week. The final score was 27-13. Even at that, it wasn't indicative of the game. I mean, Daniel Jones ran for a touchdown on the last play of the game to make it, a 2-score loss rather than a 3-score loss. So, well, look at this game. You look at the Washington football team. They're coming off a close loss with the Los Angeles Chargers. But as John pointed out there for a second, it looks like a different football team when Taylor Heineke came in. One of the reasons I didn't give Washington much of a chance at all to win the division, I actually had them placing 3rd behind the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants in the NFC East, when you have Ryan Fitzpatrick come in, it's all, I know I've used this word quite a bit. It's kind of been the theme of today's show, buy-in. How much buy-in is there going to be for a team that finished last season great, won the division, gave the eventual champs all they could handle in the wild card game, actually had a chance with a minute left to tie the game. Taylor Heinicke played out of his mind in that wild card matchup that Saturday night in our nation's capital against the Tampa Bay Bucks. But you come into this year and like, okay, we're like a quarterback away from, dare I say, being a Super Bowl contender. I mean, heck, you've got the receivers, you got the O-line, the running game. You darn sure have the defense, and I love the coach, Ron Rivera, who's been to a Super Bowl and has won a lot of games in this league. But you got Ryan Fitzpatrick, and as we all know, it's a quarterback's league. You can have an average roster, but if you got that guy, you can still go places. And the reverse can be true as well. Washington's got an excellent roster, excellent coaching staff, but they don't have that guy at quarterback. And so that's why I didn't think, while we obviously, of course, wish Ryan Fitzpatrick the very best in his recovery from his hip injury, this is his ninth team. There's a reason that this is his ninth team. There's a reason he's been a backup sometimes and a starter at other times. Low in starter, high in backup. Matter of fact, I kind of have him more in the backup group than a starter because he is the definition of a backup. One game, he looks like Patrick Mahomes. The next, he looks like Nathan Peterman. You don't know what you're getting. So Taylor Heinicke, while he's not really an upgrade over Ryan Fitzpatrick, for the most part, you pretty much know what you're getting. Fairly accurate, can move around a little bit. We certainly saw that when he ran for that touchdown, that circus touchdown against Tampa Bay last year in the playoffs. He's a guy who's efficient, game manager. He's a game manager. Fitzmagic really isn't that. You know, he can be the reason you win a game, and he can certainly be the reason you lose a game that you should win by throwing a lot of interceptions. That's not Taylor Heinicke. And as a matter of fact, I said on the show on Monday that once Fitzpatrick is healthy, I actually think Taylor Heinicke is going to be the starter. I think Washington will play well under him, and Ron Rivera will say, look, A, you've been out a while. B, he knows our system better. C, the old coach's cliche. He gives us a better chance to win. And so let's go and put up the score. Thursday Night Football, Week 2 kicks off tonight. Washington hosts the Giants. Here we go. I've got the Washington football team winning 25-20. The line right now by Vegas is Washington minus 3.5, so it's almost a pick 'em. As we all know, the home team gets 3 points, so they're favored minus 3.5. I think Washington covers barely. Here's the thing. Danny Dimes or Danny Pennies or whatever you want to call him, Daniel Jones, he's going to give them one. He's going to give you about one, sometimes even two a game. And against this defensive line, when his O-line is not very good, I mean, listen, Denver's defensive line, Von Miller looks like Super Bowl 50 Von Miller, Super Bowl MVP Von Miller. Bradley Chubb, a D-line in Denver that's good, not as good as Washington. Right? So when I look at this, I say Chase Young got shut out last week against the Chargers. He's going to come out with something to prove. Okay, he's the defensive rookie of the year. He's looking to elevate his game. I said, along with a lot of other people last year, best player out of the 2020 draft, and I still stand by that. I think he showed that last year in the regular season. Jonathan Allen, Montez Sweat, these dudes are going to come out with something to prove. And against this below-average Giants offensive line, I think that's going to be the difference in the game. This is going to be your classic battle in the trenches type of football game. Okay, because Giants have a good defense as well. They have a good front seven as well and a decent secondary. But I think with the game managing Heinicke, a good running game, both Washington's offensive line and defensive line is really, really good. Washington's O-line don't get enough credit. Like, you wonder why Antonio Gibson looks as good as he looks. It's because the big dude's up front. It's because the big uglies up front. Brandon Scherf is one of the best guards in football. I know we don't talk too much about guard play, but he's really, really good. So I got Washington winning this one close. I think it comes down to the wire. I've got them winning this game 25-20 and getting their first win of the season. But, whoops, here we go. There we go. So that's where I look at it. Week 2 starts with a bang. Certainly an excellent division rivalry to start the year. So with that, that is all the time we have for tonight's show. I appreciate everybody stopping by. Have one more comment here from Grady. Appreciate him, as always, coming on the show. Heineke was terrible in Carolina filling for Cam. He was. But perhaps he's been working in his craft. I was quite impressed with his performance in the postseason last season. I mean, Taylor Heineke last year, a strong argument could be made. He played better than any of the quarterbacks that Tampa Bay faced. I mean, Drew Brees was bad against the Buccaneers. Aaron Rodgers was not Aaron Rodgers against the Buccaneers twice. Patrick Mahomes was far from Patrick Mahomes. That was because he didn't have any time to throw. He's running for his life. I think he ran for like, they covered, they said he ran for like 500 yards as far as total distance traveled, total distance scramble for running for his life, trying to find open Kansas City receivers, which they were there, but he had zero time to get them the football. And so, on the other hand, Taylor Heineke, he put up 23. He put up 23, second most of the Packers, 26, but didn't turn the ball over a ton. He had that one interception, I think, to Carlton Davis, but kept Washington in it. Made Tampa Bay sweat a little bit in the fourth quarter, and that's all you really could ask for from the guy. He actually had a chance to tie the game. So it was a fun game. It was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be. And so there you go. But I like Taylor Heineke for this team better than I do Ryan Fitzpatrick for the reasons I just mentioned. So hope everybody has a great evening. Be sure to catch Carving It Up tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific time on Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitter. If you're listening to Carving It Up Podcast, we appreciate that. You've been listening on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Anchor, as well as wherever you listen to your podcast. Enjoy the game tonight. Going to predict the other Week 2 games, Sunday's Week 2 games tomorrow at about 6:30-ish, maybe later. So have a great evening. Enjoy the game. Stay safe out there. God bless you all. Peace out.